Welcome back to another episode of Life Between the Volleys, brought to you by Huntproof, making you more successful. Gadwall Whiskey, cheers to the journey. Rixie Outdoors, the best dog stand on the market. Pattern Pros, where simplicity meets results. Recool Dog Vest, the only dog vest we trust. 30 Duck Coffee, the only coffee you need to get your morning started. Bluebird Waterfowl, changing the game of waterfowl. And Winter Productions, let us tell your story. Welcome back to another episode of Life Between the Volleys. We're going to be joined today by Trent Vinson, and he's already on here. I'm getting better at this, but we're going to hop over and have a conversation with him about how me and him met and a little bit about his business here in West Virginia that I didn't know existed till on a random filming job on a pheasant hunt. So I just want to introduce Mr. Trent Vinson. How are you today, bud?
Good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. I am off work. I'm about to pour myself a drink, and we're going to talk hunting. So it's kind of a good day for me. It's kind of my goal for every single day.
Absolutely.
If I can keep dogs not playing in the background. So let's just kind of jump into, your company is Vince. I'm going to mess up the name of this. Vincent On Point Kennels, correct?
Yes.
Yep. All right. So let's get into like how you kind of before we jump in that, when did you get into bird hunting or hunting in general? Like let's get back to your childhood. Like what was that like for you?
So, growing up, we always had hounds, whether it be bird dogs, coon hounds, rabbit dogs. We were always hunting something with a dog. That's kind of where my passion for it started. And then it just kind of slowly grew into nothing but bird dogs.
Yeah. I mean, so what was it like, growing up? I mean, kind of like, did you all hunt around here? I mean, coon hunting, yes, of general, but did you grow up here in the state, or would you guys?
Yeah, I grew up in the States. I'm in Southern Ohio. There wasn't a whole lot of bird hunting opportunities. When we were growing up, we occasionally found some grouse here and there, but we didn't really have anything here locally. Um, didn't do any out of state hunting until I got older, and then took off on my own. And then now I try to go out west at least once or twice a year.
Yeah, that's something that like kind of I remember growing up, like I've seen like one grouse in the wild and that's it. And like to be honest, like I knew what it was when we seen it, but like my buddy was like, "What is that? Like a baby turkey?" I was like, "No, dude, that's a grouse." I was like, "I don't know why it's here, but in this like location." But yeah, it was kind of very rare. Like I know of a couple places we rabbit hunted that like I've seen them be flushed up and stuff, but I've never truly actually, been around bird dogs until a recent filming job kind of back in late fall, winter. I kind of met up with you, and we're going to get onto that. But yeah, it's just kind of weird to think that like a bird hunter here in this state that's like kind of more strictly pheasant, grouse, and upland like you are. I mean,
Yeah.
like what drew you what drawed you to upland more than anything?
So, it started about, I'd say, roughly 10 years ago, man. I, uh, I duck hunted some. Loved to duck hunt, but I'd rather be in the uplands. I bought my first bird dog that was mine was a Weimaraner. I started with Weimaraners. I ended up with a male and a female Weimaraner. I was 19 at the time. Started there, trained the dog myself, and it was it was probably the worst trained dog that I'd ever owned. Uh, since then I've gotten a lot better, um, but that's where it started for me. Started here, trying to find grouse in the woods wherever we could, and then dove hunting, and then slowly started making my way out west.
Yeah, that's crazy to think. I mean, I don't know, man. Like when I got into bird hunting, it was obviously duck hunting and stuff, which is funny how like I even like kind of got interested in upland hunting at all is a filming job, which is the same way I got interested in duck hunting was I was off on a filming job. I'm like, we're going to do what? He's like, yeah, just show up at this time, meet me, don't tell anybody where we're going. I was like, and we're gonna go do what? And they're like, we're gonna go film a goose hunt. You shoot geese? Like that's a thing you do? And I mean, we showed up, and to me, it was a camaraderie that kind of drove me into that, where it was like, buddies out. They didn't shoot a thing, but it was just them chit chatting together and everything. And it kind of drove me into that type of hunting, where on the one pheasant hunt had been on up until like a little bit recent, like it was the dogs. Like it was so dog driven, which was awesome to me because that's what I fell in love with was the dogs.
Yeah.
Um, on the waterfowl side and stuff. So that's what really became interesting to me was just all that different aspect of it. I guess I didn't know anything about dogs. I didn't know like really like I'd heard of like a pointer and setter, like just and I couldn't point out a pointer or a setter if you put a bunch of dogs online and point out a lab. I probably don't know the rest of them. But it's crazy to see like the different dogs and stuff. I've got to be around with you and a couple of those other guys, and I don't know, man. It was just interesting to see that. But so you got into that, about 10 years ago. You kind of got your first dog and stuff. But then when did you transition into becoming this guy? Because we met at McKean's Farms, and I'll say this because I was just there the other day. Took my two dogs over because I'm sending you one of my dogs some point in time this summer to have you tune her up a little bit. It's one that I'm struggling with that I need someone who's experienced like you. And dude, they bragged on you. Like everyone I've met that knows you kind of brags on you when it comes to training dogs. So where did that drive? Where did it start that you just kind of decided to start training dogs?
So it definitely started with my Weimaraner. I wanted to train my own dog, and then I ended up with the short hairs. And I've had numerous friends over the years ask for help with the dogs. Um, Obedience, I guess, wise is where it all started. Like my dogs were super obedient when others weren't. And it kind of spiraled into the obedience portion, but I didn't want to focus my attention on pets. I wanted to basically only work with the working dogs, the upland, the duck, uh, and I'll do a few in between, but now that I'm established and things are rolling, I don't take any pets anymore.
Yeah, like I can see that because like that was the thing. Like like which is crazy. Like I'm far from a dog trainer, but like I listened to a bunch of podcasts and stuff. That's what drew me to have a conversation with you even more. Is I love sitting and talking dogs and training dogs with these guys and watching them talk and stuff. And it all starts with obedience. Like if you can't control the dog to start with, you can't control the dog when you need to teach it to do something or start working progressions through there. And that's where like like showing like guys like little tricks I've seen, not necessarily obedience, but once like if like they'll be like, I have buddies who brag on my dog and they brag more on the fact that she just sits over and keeps her mouth shut and
Yeah,
stays quiet the whole entire time. Like you don't even know she's there half the time. She's not bugging you. She's not doing a lot, which all the dogs I hunt with are kind of like that. Um, and it's interesting to see that like you don't even think about the obedience. You focus on so much of the pointing, the retrieving, the flushing that like you don't even notice that like those little obedient things about being able to just keep your dog controlled, collected, right beside you when you need her to be, out in front of you when you don't. It's a crazy aspect to me.
absolutely. Yeah, it's and it's harder to you can't really teach a dog anything unless it's calm and it's ready to learn. Um, you know, I've worked with, I'd say, at least the majority of the pointing breeds I've worked with. The retrievers, worked with quite a few labs, Goldens, um, Cocker Spaniel, of course, is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Um,
we're gonna talk about that little guy of yours, man. I freaking
yeah, yeah. But I'm a big proponent on a firm foundation of obedience. Most of my dogs that are in house, and then also the pups that stay with me after litters, um, for their first 6 weeks or so, it's nothing but obedience. Of course they'll get tossed a pigeon here and there to kind of bring that prey drive to the front, because of course we want dogs to have a high prey drive, especially in the field that we're in. If they don't want to do it, then it's kind of hard to hunt over them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, but obedience is key, man. Because I expect my dogs to stop when I tell them to stop. I expect them to recall. All these things that most people they overlook, and it's all about birds. Um, Birds do make the bird dog, but if you can't control it, then it's not a very joyful time for anybody in the field.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and we're gonna get into like upland hunting because I have some questions. So we're gonna get there eventually because it's just something that like I noticed. Like I've filmed you hunting one time, and I've also hunted over your dogs one time, and oh my gosh, this pup is about to drive me up the wall. She's over here playing with another dog. Heel. Gosh, that's what happens when they sit in a kennel all day, and you get home and they're like, "Let's play."
They're ready to go. Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy to see that different things come out of him. Now, when you started, you started with that and stuff, you worked your way up. Did you like originally think like, this is what I want to do? I want to train dogs, or was it kind of like I'm gonna breed a few, do this, do that? Did you think you were gonna go do field trials? Because I have questions about that. What was like the goal there? Did you want to become a trainer, a field trial guy, or kind of in between both, or where were you looking?
So for me, it's about training. I would rather train. I've done several field trials, but for me, I always had a thing for dogs, and I was always pretty good at training dogs. So that's kind of where I landed. I didn't think that it would get as big as quick as it did. I figured, I would train a couple dogs a year, and that would be the end of it. But now we're looking at April coming up, and I've got 5 people bringing me dogs April 1st. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's literally this week, man. You're getting
yeah,
5 dogs, and yeah, I guess like that. That's the thing. Like I've always enjoyed like the field trial stuff is interesting, whether it's duck or I have questions about the pheasant one, but like to me, like I've always like enjoyed more the like hunting side of it than like the field trial because those field trial dogs are amazing and probably they're some of the most like I don't even know what the levels they are in them. But like the top notch like field trial dogs are insane how good they are. And even the ones just missing are amazing dogs. They just miss like one mark. It's such a small margin up there because there's so many good dogs going. There's so many good guys out there training them that it kind of it's crazy over like I listen to people and like to me like if I can just have a meat dog, that's all I want. I just want one that I can hunt with, come home, it has the off switch, it hangs out with the family, the kids, has fun. Um and that to me was always my goal, and that's kind of what I got with 2 of my dogs and the third one as well. I mean, she just has little things, but it's crazy to think that like there I guess there's not as many guys anymore. It seems like that are just training to train hunting dogs. There are a lot more doing the field trial stuff, pushing for the field trial. And do you like see that a lot? Like guys bringing you field trial dogs, wanting field trial dogs versus like just a regular hunting dog on the pheasant
yeah,
side.
it's kind of a healthy mix of both, I would say. I've got quite a few guys that bring me dogs, and they're strictly they just want to hunt over the dog. And then on the other hand, I have guys that want a completely broke dog. Steady to wing shot and fall, force fetch, the whole nine. And that's all they do is field trial. You know.
Okay, so I have a question real quick on the field trial,
hmm
and so it seems like field trials like there's different types of them, and like we're gonna rabbit around in this. Like that's how my brain, my tism, as that I get called at work, works. Uh, it seems like to me like it's a very like fast paced field trial for Upland. Because I mean you're moving along and stuff. Is that kind of how you train? Is kind of a fast paced train and stuff?
So most of the field trial training in the field here is slow off the rip, and then it increasingly gets faster. So the dogs can build that speed in the field. But there's a lot of components that go into building a field trial dog versus a hunting dog that it takes a lot more time, a lot more steadiness, I would say, for a pointing dog. Um, the I'm I'm the kind of guy that I like to hunt over my dogs. I like to hunt wild birds, and most people, if they've ever hunted wild birds, I don't want a dog myself that's steady to wing shot and fall. I've wounded too many wild birds in the field. My first one, my brown dog Jagger that I trained initially, I trained him to be steady to wing shot and fall, and then that slowly went out the window after we couldn't find a couple birds in Kansas. So
Yeah, I can because I mean, dude, it blows my mind how hardy a pheasant is,
mhm.
or how tough. I mean, they're just like any other bird. I feel like they take a harder punch than what you think they can actually take. Um,
Absolutely.
but no, I asked about the speed thing because it seems like watching guys guide hunts that I have over at McKean's on that preserve and watching different things, it seems like so fast paced in the upland world, like as far as like people moving, like they're moving a lot. I guess I'm used to like rabbit hunting and like uh, I wouldn't say coon hunting, but like at a slower pace where you're letting dogs work more like I feel like they work more, if you know what I'm saying, versus like if it seems like in pheasant, like in upland, like they work through an area and then it's like you move on.
Hmm.
Like they're through there. Where like I'm wanting to like kind of like, like did we check this area good enough? Like is there birds setting tight in here? Is it just you know what I mean? Is it just missed or something like that? Like so I'm just trying to understand like I guess that's the pheasant way and I'm just like kind of thrown off by that, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of a you have to trust your dog uh, more so than anything. You gotta there's been times where you walk a field and no birds get pointed, no birds get up. But then you walk back through that field, and could be wind direction, could be the bird wasn't sitting there before and it worked its way into the field, and then another bird will get up. But these dogs cover significant amounts of ground in little time. Especially out west. I try to keep my dogs reeled in at the preserves when I'm guiding. 60, 70 yards, but when we're out west, I mean, I'll let them range out over 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
And cover as much ground as they can.
yeah. So that was the thing. It kind of me and my dad noticed when we talked about like we really enjoyed hunting our dogs. We noticed the speed. I hadn't noticed as much when I was just straight filming because I'm really not paying attention at that
Hmm.
point. Um, but like I've noticed like the speed at which we hunted and stuff. And me and him discussed it, and I was like, I feel like it's an upland thing. I feel like nothing different happened. It's just that you don't ever kind of like stop. It's kind of a not really. You're not walking fast. You're just continuously walking. You keep your pace up because you're just continuously working your way forward. Um,
Yeah, you're just
you,
chasing the dogs pretty much.
yeah. I mean, it's very. I mean, that's why I think it's a very interesting thing where it's like you're just sitting still watching them hunt, like waterfowl hunting, like you're kind of not moving, you're kind of just working the dog on the retrieves. This is like there's a whole entire aspect to it that's very interesting to me.
Hmm.
So
I think that's one of the main reasons why why I love it as much as I do. Um, it's kind of a hunting adventure that's built for me. I can't sit still very long anyway. So and I enjoy just being out in the woods or prairies and just walking. You know, we when we go out west, we try to get at least 10 miles a day in. Um, Sometimes we get a little more than that, depending on where the birds are and how hard they are to get up.
Yeah, I could completely see that, to be honest. As you say that, because I look at it and think, well, you know, there's definitely like a difference. Like just on the preserve, like we did 7 miles. I think I clocked one day. The one day I filmed you, like we did 7 miles, and that was like kind of repeating some ground. Probably a lot more repeatable than like what you do out west, where you could just continue a big loop. Um, so when you went out west and started going out west, like when did you like jump on that? Did you just pick a place and go, or was you like, oh, I did some research, Kansas was the place I was going, or did you just immediately go after that place?
Yeah, I sat down, did some research. The first place I went was South Dakota, just because the bird numbers. Um, if you want to kill some roosters, South Dakota's the place to go. Um, we got millions of acres of public ground, and there's no shortage of birds. You just got to find them. And then I bounce back and forth now, either South Dakota or Kansas or North Dakota. I'm going to try to get up into Montana this year, I think. If not Montana, probably Oklahoma on the way back from Kansas.
Okay, okay. When you the first trip out there, was you just blown away by like the bird numbers, or were like, was it one of those where like, because I mean, my first time traveling duck hunting, I was blown away by the numbers. The success rate was a lot lower than successful rate,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, that's typical of like trying to travel and hunt a wild game. That's definitely a lot different. But do you like tend to see like a lot of people in these trips, or is it kind of like not as many, or can you get away from people? I mean,
So it's all about timing. I usually try to go like the fourth week a season. I try to let it die down a little bit, and of course, there's probably not as many birds that at that time because they've been pressured pretty hard, and it's hard to get them to set still. I mean, if you're hunting roosters with a pointer, they're going to get up. It's just the name of the game. But South Dakota, the first trip, I was amazed. When I got to South Dakota and there's roosters flying across the road as I'm pulling into the cabin that we were staying in. And then you get up in the morning, we're driving to a spot, there's roosters flying across the road, landing in fields. It was just insane to me that there was that many birds there.
yeah, that does seem pretty interesting to me that there is a lot. Like you watch like the Upland videos and stuff like on Outdoor Channel. Actually, the most Upland I've watched is sitting at McKean's talking the
Yeah.
talking over there. Like that, it's like every like guide house you go in, like there's always whatever you're there to hunt is what's on the TV. Um, to be honest, I like this is rabbit hole again. I did not realize where woodcocks were shot at in Wisconsin till the other day when I was there. I don't know how they swing a gun and all that thick crap up there. Like that is like an insane looking hunt. Like man,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's definitely. I definitely could see that, and like I don't know, man. I think the dog side of it's what made me fall in love with it and find it so interesting and want to have conversations with you about it and stuff. So, you know, you started this business, you started going out there. Like, how did you get into doing like the little bit of guiding you do for like I don't know where all you do guiding at and stuff, where all you can advertise or not advertise you do guiding at. I can
Yeah.
I can say it for you. I know you get guided McKean's
Yeah.
there. But what was that like when you first started doing that? Like, you know,
So, I mean, it was just kind of a uh, Colin asked me if I ever guided any, and I had, a little bit here and there at other preserves where I had clients that had brought me dogs to train, asked me to bring my dogs out so that they could hunt with my dogs and their dogs. And I've done that, at Quail Point Preserve up in Kentucky. Um, I've been over to Cherry Bend a couple times with some clients, and then Colin just kind of asked me if I'd be interested in guiding there because I had some good dogs. So kind of started there, and then I guide more at McKean's than I do anywhere.
The interesting thing about there is, so you have your type of dogs you like, and we're gonna get into that. You know what you specifically like, not that necessarily to train, but then like you go there, there's like a whirlwind of dogs that show up to guide, and like I've seen literally someone shoot them over every dog I've seen there so far, and there's been a wide range of different dogs that have shown up there.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's what's interesting is like, like you can kind of shoot over any type of dog. Like the other day I was there, like, I unloaded my 2 labs, and there was a lab, and I don't know what the other one was. The dog, I can describe it to you. It's the one that has the collar on that beeps loud as shit. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's Brittany.
Yeah, dude, that thing, like, dude, I didn't realize how loud that collar beeps until that sucker runs by you one time. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But speaking of
I'm
that,
not. I mean, we've got modern technology now. I know it's a little more expensive, but uh, Garmin's where it's at.
oh yeah, like I'm definitely like, dude, the gadget. I don't even need the gadgets that Garmin has for dogs, and I kind of want to buy it. I have a Garmin shock collar. Might as well buy the other
Yeah.
fucking gadgets.
Yeah.
Um, that yeah. Okay, let's talk about that. The training side of it. Because you brought up gadgets. From when you started to now, the different gadgets that have come out with, like, how's that changed the training so much? Because, like, I doubt when you started, they had, I don't even know if you use wingers, and I literally had to learn about them, like, the other day at a show, like, fully how they function by a guy who owns a business that sells them and a guy who trains dogs. And I was sitting there like, so these do what? I'm like, you don't just go make your wife go throw dummies for you? Like, oh,
That's
okay.
Yeah, that's how it started. I mean, my daughter. My daughter. I'm thankful my daughter enjoys the same things that I enjoy, so she helps out a lot. But it started with her. Throwing bumpers out for me. We started with the old pull style. You ran out a 150 foot of paracord and you're yanking on it as for your bird launcher. And now we're setting with about 10 or 12 remote controlled bird launchers, and pile of pigeons, and we've got some remote controlled dummy launchers as well. So it's came a long ways from where we started.
And what's crazy is you started training with that older technology, and you don't necessarily need the newer technology, but the ability to be able to adjust a dog and fix a dog so fast. Like,
Yeah.
and this is just me like thinking like, the issues I had was like, okay, I never had that, but like, okay, you got a dog stuck out there. He's looking for it, can't find it. You can launch, and for duck dogs, I'll say this: you could launch another dummy into that area. They can find that one so that they're not just out there like, well, I don't know where this one went to, and just completely lose their mind. You can throw another dummy in there with a remote launcher. Versus where if you had the pull string, well, if it's not reloaded, you can't throw another one.
Yeah.
I think, man, I just have to say, like, dog training has become so. It has negativity, like a lot of like the problem is you have bad trainers that bring a lot of negativity to it, and we're not even going to address it because I don't even know any of them, and I don't want to know a bad dog trainer that brings that negativity and stuff to the dogs. But like, there's so many out there that like do such great stuff that like you're like, man, oh man, there's another dog trainer. Do they really need? Well, yeah, like you don't understand how many dogs people are hunting over that. Like, if you didn't have to listen to them scream at their dog the whole entire time you're hunting and blow a whistle, like you might enjoy your hunt a little better if you start going to like big public areas.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to talk to my dogs as little as I need to in the field.
Yeah. So you started out like, building this business and stuff you have and everything. But what, like, do you still have a day job? Like, I mean, I'm just trying to learn about you. You still got a day job.
Yep.
And would the ultimate goal here be to no longer have a day job and you're just doing training full time?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. We're a ways from that, but I feel like, maybe it could possibly get there one day. I'm not fully ready to do that just yet. but it takes a lot of time. I usually work 7 to 3, and then the rest of my evening spent in the field with the dogs, or inside the garage that I've converted into a dog training facility that I work on my obedience in. Establish obedience inside and then bring it outside to the real world and then reestablish it outside with the distractions and whatnot. But I think eventually it may get there. We'll just have to see where it takes us.
Yeah, I mean that's where I was going with it. Like I've hunted over your dogs, and I have people who brag it. Like I've met who brag about your dogs. Like multiple different guides over there have, and other dog trainers and dog owners brag about your dogs. I mean, it's crazy to me, like knowing you still have a day job, because that's what kind of happened. Like, when we first got married, me and my wife, we bought a dog. Well, that one was easy to train when it was just me and her. Then
Mm-hmm.
for some reason we had a kid and a litter of pups at the same time, and I thought, let's keep a dog. Well, she's not as good as the first one, and then we had a second litter and a second kid. For some reason, I like that. Like every time we had a kid, I had to have a dog have puppies for some reason, and that's the one you're getting. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you take so much time. You have to spend so much time on them
Yeah,
that it is unreal.
you do. It takes a lot of time, and then I get it. I get the question asked a lot. Uh, before someone brings a dog, how long is it going to take? It's hard to say. I can't give you a definite time frame, and it all depends on the dog. Uh, there's not a standard training method.
No,
I train the dog that's in front of me. Um, what works for one dog may not work for another one.
you have an outline, but that outline, what goes under that outline, is completely different for every dog.
Absolutely.
I've seen I've seen dogs like like you can take dogs and make them honor somebody else, and that set lights a fire under their ass. Like they're like, nope, nope, I don't like this. I don't like sitting here watching them retrieve. You got
Yep.
other dogs who will sit there and be like, oh, yeah, that's good for them. Glad
Yeah,
they're
I'll
get.
let them get it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, no big deal. Like they just don't have that fire. So then you got to figure out how to get the fire, how to develop all that. It's definitely like a very interesting, different process, I'd say, when it comes to training dogs.
It definitely is. I mean, it's more about reading the dog than anything. If you can read the dog and figure out what works for it, you can get through the process pretty quickly. I've seen people struggle in the past, and I've helped quite a few guys with their dogs in the field, um, especially with pointers. Man, sometimes you'll get a dog that just doesn't trust its nose. They'll go out to the field and they'll turn on a dime. They can smell the bird, but they're not sure. So they'll work their way in closer and closer and closer until the bird flushes. You know, that's one of the bigger things. The steadiness is one of the biggest things for a pointing dog. I trust both of my dogs. To hunt out wide and hold it until I get there.
Yeah. And I mean, you also got, like the aspect of that, you add a second dog in there. Well, then they got to honor
Yeah, you got to
and
back
trust.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. And that to me, even, one creeps, like the other one's a creep. Like you got to have, like, I mean, that takes a veteran dog to train a veteran dog. You know what I mean? At that point, it takes a lot to hold. Cause I mean, it blows you away how that like honoring is like, that's how I learned like my first dog. I had to go back and do some work. Was I watched another dog, do some hand signals and stuff, and I looked at her and I was like, we've got a little bit of work to do.
Yeah.
We've got to clean up some stuff. And it wasn't a problem of honoring. And then that was the first thing I did with every dog I've ever messed with is obedience and then straight to honoring,
Mm-hmm.
because that either gave them drive immediately or at least made them steady.
Yeah.
At least had them
Absolutely.
steady. Um, but yeah, so what you have your pointer,
Yep.
and then you got the little guy.
Yeah.
So what? First, let's go into what is your personal favorite breeds? Like your top three breeds that you want to own personally.
So number one for me is always going to be a short hair. They're super versatile dogs. They're not late season duck dogs by no means. unless you're somewhere where you can shoot numbers, you know. Um, but as far as my preference, it's definitely a short hair, and then second on my list is definitely English Cocker. You know, this is the first one that I've ever owned, and I'll probably have a few more. You know, I love the dog. The dog's got a heck of amount of a drive for its size, and I'm a big fan of setters and English pointers as well. Draughts are great, just not so good around kids, in my opinion, because of the aggression. But
Yeah.
that's my general list there.
Well, first, I want to brag on your list, just being honest about the draughts. That's something that a lot of people wouldn't even like bring up. Like, like to me, there's certain breeds, like when I think of, like to go into a different type of complete like dog, a trainable dog is like, cattle dogs. You
Mm-hmm.
have corgis, you have blue heelers, you have, Calahulas. Of the three, corgis are pretty well. It's a very weird dog to think that's a cattle dog, and it is. And there's a lot more others, but those are the three that I see 95% of the people own, and collies, border collies, another good dog around kids.
Yep.
Heelers, on the other hand, are a very questionable dog on whether they're going to bite you or not. Those things are the most, and they're sneaky about it. And
Mm-hmm.
they're very sneaky. Then you got Catahoula's, which are not sneaky and probably some of the most aggressive dogs I've ever met. Like you train them to like either catch cows or even like I assume, I'm not positive, but like you could use them hardcore on. I think they need to be used on hogs. Those things are
Oh,
some of the
yeah,
meanest. Those, like I've seen those things like literally bite each other, like in like the family pack that you're running. Like they are not friendly. They are not. They're aggressive dudes, and like they're ones I definitely don't ever trust. I don't trust them or healers at all. If I ever meet either one, I'm like, I don't trust you. So, and then there's just all little dogs in general. I don't trust those. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely like when you say that, like a lot of people are like, oh, like everyone wants a healer. Well, I'm like, dude, like there's just so much better dogs. Like collie, like I like border collies and stuff when it comes to cattle and stuff. This is like an off-topic discussion, but it's bringing up the
yeah.
fact that like understanding what each breed is and their negativities of each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
like to me,
If
labs getting
if I
fat,
didn't if I
shit.
didn't have if I didn't have children, I mean, a draught would be high on my list just because of the versatility of them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that, and that's a pretty interesting take. I mean, I've never even seen one, to be honest, but that's something that like I don't know. I definitely admire it, being that you're a trainer and you're willing to say that. Like, that's something, I guess. Like, have you ever had a person come to you and be like, I'm going to buy a dog, but I don't know what to buy.
Mm-hmm.
You're breeding, like you might breed this litter, but they're like, I don't really want one of those. Like, having the ability to be like, this is what I would like. What's your family life like? What's your at home life like? And recognize it. And the reason why I can say that about you is because we had a discussion the other day. We were supposed to podcast earlier, but you were dealing with pretty sure training a dog that you kind of was preventing like an issue that the dog, I guess, it needed obedience work or something that you didn't want. Like, it was getting kind of out of hand and you were kind of willing to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's sometimes you got to kind of step in and protect the dog because a lot of problems, mostly obedience problems, are caused at home. Uh, you know, and 9 times out of 10, it is a behavioral problem that's not corrected soon enough, and it's allowed to continue to go and go and go until it gets to the point where they're like, okay, I can't handle this dog anymore. You know, but I've had it happen several times. People call me, ask me, hey, like, I want a bird dog, but I don't know what I want. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of answers. Other people have various opinions on it. Me, the first thing I ask is, do you have kids? What kind of property do you have? Like, do you have room for the dog to run? Um, what do you want to do with the dog? Because that means a lot. If you want a dog that's going to go out there and bust ice and do upland, you're probably looking at a lab or a golden, something like that, or a draught, or a wire hair. Wire hairs are pretty good in the cold weather too. But for me, as far as a great family pet that's also a working dog in the field that's going to come in here and be part of the family and be good with the kids, let the kids do whatever they want to do to them, and then go out in the field and hunt. It's going to be a short hair for sure. I had a great Weimaraner. My first one, my male, he was a brute and like was great with my kids. And then I got a female, and she didn't really care much for the kids. But all dogs have a different personality too. I mean, and I think that starts as they're being introduced to the family. There's a right and a wrong way to introduce dogs, their puppies, and kids together as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely even labs can pick up bad habits if you don't fix them. They're kind of like one of the most docile ones there is, but they can still pick up a horrible habit and just do stuff, unruly things, just because you don't correct it soon enough.
Hmm.
And once they're 3 and 4 or 5 years old, dude, you're beating your head against the
Yeah,
wall. Like it's a rough road to fix. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, and you bring up, it is introduction to the kids and stuff. It's funny because like we got our lab, and then like she was probably roughly 6 months old, and we got my wife. My wife had always wanted a toy Yorkie. I mean, you can imagine he's over there. I can't grab him. He probably won't come over here, but like he's literally fits in the palm of your hand. He's kind of fat right now. But to watch our labs play with him is unreal. Like they're like he's the size of their head, and he will boss them around the house.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like they've learned to just be docile because we like, hey, you got to be easy with him. Like when I'll never forget like the video when we introduced him was we had to put a fence between him because like the lab pup was like 40 pounds, wanting to pounce on him and play with him, and he's like weighing like a pound and a half, and we're like, oh, he's gonna die if he doesn't survive. She's gonna sit on him, something like, and it's crazy to think of all that stuff.
It
It's
is.
stuff that people
You
don't think
know.
about. Um, let's get into like, is there a hunt? You go out west a lot and stuff. You enjoy going out there. Is there a hunt that you're kind of like looking at that you want to do sometime you haven't got to do yet? A trip or somewhere?
So I'm thinking, there's a couple states that I definitely like to hit whenever my schedule, work, and home life kind of come together. Idaho is probably number one on my bucket list just because there's so many different upland species to hunt in Idaho. Um, Montana, Sharptails is another one that I'd like to get in, and then of course Canada, uh, grouse. So
All right. So you haven't mentioned it, and I'm just have intrigued by it because it's like the only Western state I have a connection with, and it's Wyoming. I mean, what
mhm.
like is there no desire to go to Wyoming, or what's Wyoming hunting like? You know what I mean? Is it
It would be roughly the same as Montana,
okay?
and not saying that I wouldn't go there. I would probably hit Wyoming as well. Um, I've got a group of guys that usually go with me every year, and we just kind of sit down and pick out a state. Um, Kansas is a good state for me just because I like to hunt quail, uh, and Kansas last year was phenomenal quail hunting. Like the bird population was up. We shot a lot of quail last year, and that's why I continue to go back to Kansas. Because I can shoot roosters in a lot of different states, but quail is a hard bird to get a hold of, unless you go to South Texas or Oklahoma. Uh, but Kansas usually holds good numbers, and you never know what you're going to get when a dog goes on point. It could be a covey of 25 quail, or it could be a rooster. You never know.
Okay, yeah, that's a I don't know, like what's the length for someone like me or someone who's not like done any type of upland hunting? I'll say upland because it's not just pheasant. What is the terrain like you're normally hunting? Like, what Are you normally hunting like a ditch line, a cove, or a hillside, um, like a CRP field, or like along like what do y'all typically look for when you're out there hunting and
So
stuff?
usually we're working we're working fence rows, field edges, um, for quail, like finger drains in agricultural fields, working those. For pheasants, we're pretty much spanning out and working just a prairie, wide open with some cover and some food. We're working through it in a line, and just kind of pushing birds up as we go. But the quail is kind of more centralized around field edges, crop rows, where you have like a transition from crop to grass, like a nesting habitat. Um, but for me, it's just something about uh, the covey rise of quail when you've got 20 birds getting up, and those things are moving at mock Jesus, trying to get out of there. I remember my first time flushing a covey of quail. I didn't even get a shot off because I was just shocked at how many birds got up, and they went all different directions.
Yeah, let's we're gonna jump into that, but like, yeah, the covey. The only luckily randomly the one time I hunted with you filming you, we busted up a covey of quail on McKean's,
Yeah.
and those things like it was crazy because like we jumped one or two and you're like, hey, there's more in there, and I was like, they were like, we're standing on top of them,
Hmm.
and like they come pounding out of there. Well, this last time when I went took just the two labs over, my buddy Jake, who was over there the day we hunted with you, come with us, and me and him were like, we're kind of in a drainage. We're sitting there talking. The labs are kind of like, I'm keeping them wrangled in tight because I'm thinking more like rabbit hunting. I got to keep them somewhat close. And as I did that, like I remembered like me and him were going back and forth. We're like, man, like we were working an area that someone else had just worked, and we watched a bird get flushed, kind of fly in there, and we could hear a rooster in there. So I was like, okay, there's at least a rooster in there, and there's at least that hen. They've come through there. They shot at a bird that went back down that I don't think they ever found. I couldn't really see down in there. Um, I mean that was hilarious. Trying to hold my lab was like I heard a gunshot and a bird went down. She's like, "Let me like, I go get that right," and I'm like, "No, it's not ours, not ours. No, stay." So we kind of went back around, looped through there, and like we had worked our way through there, shot a hen. They had flushed the rooster, and like it turned into an all-out trying to grab at war that they lost him diving in a creek, and I don't know where he went to. And then so we kind of come up, we're just bullshitting, standing around a pile of brush, and we're like, man, like these things are setting tight. Like we're keeping the dogs wrangled back in tight with us. Like the two we had killed up to that point had almost hit me in the face when they came up, which is kind of exciting to an extent. Like you're keeping the dogs like, and my one female, she'd started like she was really holding her nose on the ground a lot. Like she was starting to figure out, we're looking for this. What I smell was what we're looking for. We just got to
Yeah.
figure it out. She's like, it's not something she's ever messed with. And she's kind of the one I haven't messed with hardly at all. Like she's kind of sat idle for like a year and a half now, which I was kind of impressed.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, she kind of pushed Bert. Like we're bullshitting around there, and I'm like, like dude, they could be set in a brush pile like this. And sure shit, I kicked that brush pile. I about to get my face taken off by a hen pheasant coming out of it. And I'm like, holy shit. And I was like, she flew back down through there. And then all of a sudden we hear that rooster chuckling again. I guess that's what I call it, is a chuckle. I don't know if that's
Hmm.
what, but is that something you see, like you bust a hen and she flies past a rooster, like maybe he'll chuckle at her or something? Is that normal? Because it seemed like that was the reaction we had seen both times. A hen flew in, we got a chuckle out of him. I think we had bumped him around, and then that hen flew back down through there past him, and we got another chuckle out of him. Was that just coincidence, or is that something you've kind of seen before, or like common out there? Like, I don't know. I just learned quickly that the roosters are the ones that chuckled, and the hens don't make a noise.
Yeah, you'll see that on the preserve. Uh, I don't know, I don't know if there's any association with it, but like, you go out west, you're not gonna get that. Those birds are smart. They're not going to sit there and crow and crow and crow because that just draws a predator in. You know,
Yeah.
the birds over at McKean's are used to kind of flocking up together. You know, it's nothing to go over there and see 15 or 20 birds together at one time. You know, um, but I think it's just kind of a preserve thing. I've seen it happen at preserves, and they're more apt to crow, you know, at a preserve than they would out west. You know, it's not something that you're never going to hear out west because we've heard some roosters crow, but they're not going to sit there and steadily crow like they do at the preserves.
Okay. Because, I mean, it's something like, you see a duck fly past a duck. Like, I relate everything to duck hunting when it comes to anything upland because that's
Mm-hmm.
all I know is waterfowl. And, they call, you'll hear a duck call at another duck, rattle something. But, yeah, that was just like an association we had picked up and seen like a couple times. I'm like, okay, is this a common theme or is this just something that happens here?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, we discussed, kind of like a little bit of training and stuff, but let's go into, your choice of shooting because that's a big thing to me is, picking what gun you're going to shoot. We kind of discussed it the one day over there. Um, since then, I have picked up a Mossberg 410, not the same one you have. I went ahead and went with the semi-auto rather than the 410. I blame the pump one. I also blame because you didn't get it back out of your truck and show it to me. But yeah, so that's kind of something that like when you look at that, like the different type of guns, have you seen that change majorly from when you started to now the sub gauges coming back to life?
Yeah, I mean, I think, originally when we started, it was, 12 gauge and 20, and very rarely 20 for Upland. It was usually 12 and just changing the shot depending on where you're hunting and what birds you got. Um, but now I think the sub gauges are getting there, man. For me, it's a 28 gauge all the time. Like it doesn't matter where I'm hunting. If I'm hunting at a preserve or if I'm hunting out west, I'm toting a 28, and mostly because of the weight reduction and the shot pattern. You get you a 28 that you can put some 3-inch shells in. In my opinion, it shoots just as good as a 12. It may not reach out there as far, but if you're making good shots on birds at the right distance, it's definitely going to bring them down.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it, changing your shot. A big one. The last podcast I did starting out this 2026 season was with Pattern Pros owner Ron. They're getting into the Upland package sales. Like, so their business, to kind of give them a quick little plug, is they basically sell an ammo pack and you buy it and you get X amount of shells. So you get like five Winchester, I'm just saying Remington. I don't know what they are, but five this brand, five this brand, five that brand. And they like you kind of take those, you go out and you can pattern your gun with your choke tube and figure out which one shoots the best. Rather than going and buying like 5 full boxes, you can buy
Yeah,
one box for the price of like one box and get all 5 shells and figure out which one you want to shoot. Is kind of their game. So like it's kind of interesting that you bring up the sub gauges because they're now pushing the sub gauges as far as like on their turkey side and duck side, but they're only coming out with 12 gauge pack. And I told him, I was like, dude, you gotta switch, man. These guys are bringing the 20s and 28s back.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do it a lot for the weight reduction, man. Especially when you're doing. But I mean, I don't think I've picked up a 12 gauge in probably 5 years.
I have a rule. I pick it up only when we're shooting at geese at waterfowl
Yeah, I
hunting.
mean, I've shot some geese with it.
I murked a geese with a 20 gauge 3.5 from Boss, and I highly recommend that load.
Yeah,
Which is a fun thing we're gonna do with that is me and my buddy both have M2 20 gauges. We're gonna put them side by side, same chokes, and do a shot comparison to
there
see if
you
they're
go.
shooting the same because he shoots a completely different load than I shoot. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting to see like all these companies coming back with the sub gauges. I'm putting pressure on them, so if the
Yeah,
Upland people out there would want to shoot or test or pattern their guns. I'm going to put pressure on them. They're going to have the 28s and the 20s. Because I mean they're kind of coming over to that side, and the same thing with the hunt proof guys. You know, they're with their app. I've showed you some.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Which it's just different. Like I guess like it's funny to see waterfowl took a big jump, and now it seems like the upland world is getting all this attention. And maybe it wasn't you guys weren't getting attention. You're just getting a lot more now. I feel like,
Yeah.
and you deserve it, man. Like upland's kind of a fun thing. I've got some friends that do it. And like they're diehard, and I was like, you go do this and this, and they go to a different type place. They go to like a set place, but then where they just set the birds.
Mm-hmm.
But then they went out west and hunted South Dakota this year with a guide, and they told me that they're like, we're going back to South Dakota next year. They're like, all right, they're like, yeah, we're going back. They're like, that was.
They're hooked after.
Yeah, they were like, that's something different. And I'm trying to get the one. I'm like, dude, you got to hunt over my dogs. I was like, they're not great. Because I asked him, I was like, what type of dogs have you hunted over? And he talked about he's hunted over a couple different ones. And I asked him, I was like, have you hunted over a flushing dog? Because me and you talked about flushing dogs the day I filmed with you. Because you had a flushing dog. Tony does not have a flushing dog. He just has pointers.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I kind of like the flushing dog. I was like, it was kind of interesting to see it. And he was like, I like flushing dogs. Excuse me. He was like, I'm not a big fan of the lab flushing dogs. But then again, like, as I thought and watched about it, like, there's a difference in how you keep that flushing dog located. Because his complaint was they're flushing way out in front of him. Well, if you're not keeping the dog reeled in, it's going to flush way out in front of you. You got to keep the dog reeled in to what you can shoot and keep it in that area.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was just like quick little tangent on that, but it's definitely very interesting. The shell world and stuff, and how it's changing majorly, especially with the different type of shots coming out now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love my little flushing dog, man. It keeps me out of the line of fire for sure.
Yeah,
And that's the main reason that I got a flushing dog. I'm a big pointer guy. I like my pointers, but I'll definitely have another flusher after this one.
dude, that little dude is so cool. He loves the camera. First off,
He does.
He loves having his photo taken. That little guy could care less about flushing a pheasant when I have my camera out. I feel like, but yeah, he's definitely like hunting over him. I was like, dude, like flushing is the way to go. Like, and I wasn't nothing against, like, I'd only done 2 hunts at that point, so it was kind of very biased. I mean, to be like, flushing's 100% the way to go. But like, pointing, like I noticed, I was like, I don't think I'd ever want to like just the way you flush a bird pointing, like it's different if you're shooting.
Yeah.
But if you're the guy not shooting, you're guiding, like, dude, that is I don't know, man. Like, I mean, when we hunted with you, I had my nephew there, and I like really worked with him and preached like gun safety, and everything. And like he didn't shoot a couple times. He's like, I just didn't feel safe. And I was like, that's what we want. That's what we wanted to hear. Trent's really excited you said that because his dogs are in that area. And he's like, and then it's just like, I feel like some people don't think, man, they shoot so quick when those birds come up. And I'm like, man, it is. And like you said, dude, they hit and they run. Like it's definitely, man, it's a crazy when birds start flushing, it's very fast paced.
It is.
It's kind of like when birds start decoying, it's very fast in waterfowl.
Mm-hmm.
So I found it very enjoyable.
Excited.
Yeah. And we're definitely like, my dog's coming to your house sometime. We'll figure that out. I'm not in a big rush to go there and have her in your way, because I'm hoping I'm don't know how long it's going to take. Hoping not super long, but I want to come down and see your facility and stuff and hang out with you one day and see you train, because that's, I love watching people train dogs. That's kind of the funnest thing ever. And it blew me away when you said you were from West Virginia. I couldn't believe that. I was like, you're from West Virginia? Like, because up to then, like the only dog trainers I knew of there's a couple guys up in Ohio I know of. I don't even know, like my wife's friend sent his dog there, and that thing is, I've seen videos and photos, and he's pretty rock solid. Like he's pretty impressive dog. And it's one of those where you leave the dog and then you go, I guess, rabbit hole. When you have a dog, do you bring a guy in and teach them how to handle their dog after you're done training it?
Afterwards, yes.
Yeah, so that was something that like I never even thought of. Like I was like, is that even?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, what happens here is most of the dogs come to me in the spring. I'll work them through training, whatever type of training they need, and then we'll go to McKean's and we'll run the dog, or we'll run the dog in the field out here with live birds, live quail, so that the owner can understand what their dog's doing, kind of teach them a little bit about body language, and then the commands that the dog has learned the time that it's here.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So that was something that I did not realize. I got in a real bad habit of having like my dogs and like teaching them like the word go.
Yeah.
And that was a bad move because then you got two dogs having so you say the word go, but everybody flinches, and I'm like, oh, this is a problem.
Yeah, everybody wants to go.
Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely something that like it's been interesting to see. But we'll definitely figure it out. And about time getting down there and stuff. But man, before we hop off here, because I've taken up an hour of your time today, you've probably got other family stuff you like to hang out with and do. Hey, thank you for doing this, but can you real quick shout off your social medias and stuff for everyone? Because they need to go follow you and stuff. I mean, you got great dogs. I'm excited to get my dog down there and see how she does with you and stuff, and kind of definitely hunt with you again sometime. We're definitely going to waterfowl hunt.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're definitely going to do that just because, we were going to waterfowl hunt this year, but then everything just locked up and it was kind of like god awful.
Last week of season was decent. That's about it.
Yeah, and I was in Arkansas in hell in the drought.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we'll definitely. I'm definitely probably won't be making a trip anywhere. I don't think I am. I say that, and then that changes, and I get a free weekend, and I'm
always
take off somewhere. But yeah, man, let's give it a shout on where they can find you at on social media and stuff. And thank you again, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Facebook page, my business Facebook page is Vinson's On Point Kennels, and we're located here in Salt Rock, West Virginia.
Yeah, man. Real quick. Do you know a guy? How long have you lived in Salt Rock? Have you been there in
about 4 years now?
4 years. Okay. Damn. We had a guy we bear hunted with for a long time. They were a Blankenship.
Probably know them.
Okay. It's funny. I ran into someone the other day that actually knew you guys. But man, thank you again. It was just like I have a rabbit, man. I drink a bourbon and my rabbit. I just chase rabbits. But man, Thank you again for doing this. Make sure you check him out on Facebook. I'll put a link to his page on here. If you go to my page, you'll find photos posted. He's tagged in them. If you're thinking about a bird dog or wanting a bird dog, or if you're just going to go hunt pheasants at McKean's, ask for Trent. He can come be your guide. I've learned you can do that. And, dude, come hunt over some pretty fun dogs. Thank you, man. We'll catch you next time.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, later. Well, guys, that was Mr. Trent. We had a great little phone call there with him, and he's definitely someone you need to check out. Social media, I will post his pages down the salt, man. Just a normal like training guy. Started doing it, man. I've seen guys brag about his dogs that he's trained, and I'm excited to get Teal there. She's been a little hellion. She's ready to run around like a little crazy person. They've been fed, haven't been let out again since I got home from work. But we're gonna enjoy the rest of this Gadwall whiskey here, and kind of sit around and probably edit some videos for Winter Productions. Until the next time, have fun. Peace. Life Between the Volleys is brought to you by Hunt Proof, Gadwall Whiskey, Rixie Outdoors, Pattern Pros, Recall Dog Vest, Dirty Duck Coffee, Bluebird Waterfowl, and Winter Productions. Proud to run with the brands that keep us going, from the blind to the edit and every mile in between.